Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so today we're doing another gear review, and today we're checking out a combat top and combat pants by Polar Bear Tactical. So if you guys haven't heard that brand, it's actually a newer company out of Norway. So they reached out to me, said that they had designed these and they were kind of moving into the prototyping and production, and they wanted to send me a pair. So I was like, I am totally down. But as far as how many combat pants and combat tops I've used, probably about 10 of each roughly. And then of course, just like a bunch of like BDUs or kind of general camouflage uniforms. So again, Polar Bear Tactical is a newer company out of Norway. This is part of the Telemark line. This was actually designed by some active duty folk. And once I heard like the Telemark line, I was like, okay, I'm definitely interested, especially having this gear kind of be designed and tested in Norway. We've already kind of seen Norway, the environment, the terrain is pretty gnarly. So having a combat uniform that's kind of working with you in those environments is definitely something that those guys need over there. So this is the only color that they have available right now, which is a Ranger Green, kind of like the standard if you kind of look at all the kind of military uniforms or just general environments around the world. And I'm all about it because Ranger Green is definitely a vibe. You can kind of see the Polar Bear Tactical logo right there. And then we got, of course, Combat Arms channel patch right there as well. Kind of ruined the immersion a little bit there, showing the mic. But I gotta say, for combat top and pants for $210 roughly, this is a nice set. I mean, compared to, Cry, you're gonna be spending over $300, even on the G3s still. So compared to that, when you're kind of comparing those prices, this is a nice set. And again, I've had like the cheapo Amazon kind of special, and those are not made with nearly as nice materials, and those are very restrictive. And I can say with these, again, there was a lot of thought and definitely a lot of testing in these, because I'm not feeling anything that's kind of working against me, at least in how much I've worn it so far. But again, I'll give you some things to consider, some things that they kind of have on their websites as far as what they're thinking for the design of the combat top and combat pants. And then I'll go and compare it with a few others and kind of just talk about what I like and what I might not like necessarily about the combat top and pants. But we'll just go ahead and start off with some of the stuff that they have advertised on their website. So as far as the composition itself, it's a 65-35 poly cotton blend, which if you kind of look at the industry standard, that is very, very common. Very comfortable, very long lasting, pretty durable kind of combination there. If you look at some more like military kind of standard garrison uniforms, those might be like nylon cotton, but poly cotton, especially like the 65-35, I've seen that in a lot of different, not just combat tops and pants, but kind of like uniform or military gear in general, and it works really, really great. So as far as the knee pads, you kind of have the universal knee pockets there. So right now I have some of the, I think it's called the Cry Airflex, the newer generations. So I'll kind of show you those. I'll show you them a little bit later. I have a comment on these as well. Now where you really get that universal knee pad is the zipper right here. So you can unzip that and you have all of this kind of space down here. So not even kind of with this Cry knee pad. So I might actually try and put that Cry knee pad in here and see if it feels a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, you have that, which has a lot of room. So you can put pretty much any insert or even like any sort of material like the ammo crates foam. You can put that in here as well, and that'd be super comfortable. So that's an awesome design. Something that I haven't seen on a lot of other combat pants as far as having that kind of open pocket there. You also have an elbow pad sleeve here. So if you want to throw some elbow pads in, for me, I'm not too particular on them just because they kind of restrict movement a little bit. And generally, if you're wearing stuff like this, you're not going to be going prone too much for too long. So for me, elbow pads is not something that I'm too concerned about, but you do have that option. And again, it's always nice to have those options. You do have the reinforced knees as well as the elbows as well. So you don't have to worry about kind of tearing those up and just having big holes immediately in those. Now with those materials, it is moisture wicking, so we'll pull that moisture away from your body, which is nice. For me, it's nice because I notice I don't chafe as much or get like hot spots as much. And at the same time, it's a little bit nicer for kind of regulating that body heat. You're not feeling as much of that. So moisture wicking is always kind of nice. You can see here you have some of the elastic material, kind of like the Cry G3s in the back there. And then you also have the elastic. I'll kind of show it on here where I don't have the mic, but you have the elastic. Sorry if that was loud. You have the elastic adjustments as well. So if you want, you can kind of pull that and keep it a little bit tighter if you're not wearing like an inner belt or any other kind of belt for that matter. Now we'll say as far as the sizes, you have your small, medium, large, and extra large. Now that's good. It fits me pretty well. You can kind of see there. However, it's not as versatile as some of the other kind of sizing. Like for me, I usually have a longer sleeve because you can see here, I have stupid long arms. I can touch my knee standing. So I have long arms, and generally I need to get like the longer sleeves as well. But for me, I mean, again, with tactical gear, I will usually cuff these up if they're a little bit long or kind of like normal length already. So this is kind of where I'd want it. So, you know, the sleeves aren't really getting in the way when I'm manipulating anything. But just things to consider as far as the sizing. It might not necessarily be the most versatile for y'all if you have some weird body shapes like me or sizes like me. So kind of looking over everything and kind of also wearing it and kind of moving everything. Everything is good so far. I've seen the stitching has been holding up great. I haven't seen any loose stitching in any areas. Nothing that I'm concerned about. The Velcro, it seems attached very well. I'm not worried about the Velcro coming off because that's how you know something is really cheap, when the Velcro starts coming off. And especially when some of the stitching just gets like loose right away. But again, no concerns with that whatsoever. All of the zippers are really nice. So you can kind of see here, I haven't had any issues with any of the zippers getting stuck. That's kind of another thing that I consider right away as far as the quality, is if the zippers are getting stuck constantly or if we're just seeing anything deteriorate before you've even kind of like worn it or done anything. Now kind of focusing more on the combat top itself. Again, you do have those elbow pad inserts, which is nice, or those pockets, which is nice if you want to throw some inserts in there. Now, the kind of center material does have that stretch, and again, it's super comfortable sweating in it. It was pulling that moisture away from my body. And I'm not an expert with moisture wicking whatsoever, but I can kind of feel it whenever I'm wearing body armor. It feels a little bit like there's a lot more kind of airflow underneath the body armor as opposed to materials that aren't really like wicking that moisture or having that proper kind of like ventilation. I'm feeling a lot of that kind of heat, getting retained underneath that body armor, and it kind of sucks. And you can tell kind of when I pull this off, of course there's going to be sweat on there, but there's not as much sweat as kind of like, if I just had like a cotton shirt, it would be pretty much drenched right away. But with moisture wicking, you can kind of see there's usually like only hot spots with sweat, if that makes sense. You guys know if you've had body armor and you've taken it off, if you have, a material like this. Now, as far as like the storage space or kind of like the pockets, we have the shoulder pockets, which have a lot of room. I have pretty massive hands, and yeah, you got plenty of room in there. You have your adjustable sleeves. I usually leave them open just for airflow, and because it just looks a little bit weird when it's kind of like crimped like that. You have plenty of pockets on the pants. You have these massive cargo pockets, which have the zippers as well. Zippers are nice. In tactical gear, I'm not too sure how useful or how much I like zipper pockets. I haven't been using these in the field, so I don't know if the zippers are like annoying. I haven't had any issues with like anything like documents falling out when I have the Velcro, but having that extra security of having a zipper is pretty nice. So you have these massive cargo pockets, zip those up. You have these two thigh pockets, which would be good for like marking devices especially, or if you have any pens or what have you, you could also chuck them in there. Pretty handy. It just, maybe not pens actually, because I've had a pen stab me pretty bad in the thigh one time. So yeah, you can put a lot of things in here. Again, I tend to not put too much in here just because I don't like things like on my thighs or moving around my thighs. I don't like things moving on my thighs. You know what I mean? If you're in the field, if you're doing things, having things like applying pressure to you in different areas or jangling around, it's kind of annoying. That's really the only thing I can say. You have the knees where you can kind of adjust those. I keep them slightly tighter, but sometimes I'll loosen them up just for like airflow and whatnot. But slightly tighter generally feels a little bit better, especially when I'm taking a knee and stuff. the knee tends to land in the same spot, or the pad is generally where I want it. If that makes sense, it just kind of holds it a little bit tighter as well. And then you also have the knee pad pockets, which again, I have the newer generation Airflex inserts in here. So I'll take this out real quick. So that's what I have, the Cry inserts. Now I will say with these, with the newer ones, I'm not sure if the older generation Airflex was slightly shorter, but with these, when I put them in here, the bottom is folded ever so slightly, maybe like a centimeter or so, but I can kind of feel it almost like bent at that 90-degree angle towards the bottom. And it's the same whether I put the material over or if I have the kind of, knee pad sitting like that. So that's just something to consider. I'm not sure. I haven't had any issues with it making hot spots on the bottom where it's kind of folding inward. But design-wise, something that, maybe they can look at for the future generation of these. I'm not sure if it might be different for other sizes, like if you get like a large, extra large, if it might change. But for these are a medium. So with the mediums, I've kind of noticed that. As far as the cut itself, I haven't felt any hot spots or anything. The mobility in these are solid, so you can kind of see here. With some of the cheaper pair, I felt a lot of restriction kind of right in the groin. So like doing anything like this would have been impossible. Kind of like squatting down was difficult. Taking a knee was also kind of restrictive. But with these, taking a knee, getting the prone, I haven't had any issues whatsoever with any of that. So again, the materials and the cut itself, no issues as far as the mobility, kind of flexibility, anything that's limiting me. And of course, y'all will probably be rocking this with kit. So I have my belt on, I have my plate carrier, super comfortable. Again, like there's some, I've had one combat top that had like a really annoying, like bulky zipper. So when I had like body armor on, I had to either like zip it super high up or just accept the fact that the plate carrier is going to be pushing that zipper into my chest. But with this, I'm not noticing that. The belt itself, again, isn't pushing on anything that's creating any hot spots. So yeah, it works fine with gear. Again, kind of moving into like certain positions, it's super comfortable, no issues whatsoever. Getting into any of these positions, getting out of them, it works great. And again, the Ranger Green is such a vibe. I only had like green flight suits before, but kind of rocking green combat pants and combat top with some actual green kits. The Ranger Green was definitely a good move for their first color, but yeah, you guys will definitely be seeing this kind of gear setup in a few videos in the future. But yeah, that's kind of it right there. Again, I did take this to the range, so I will have some clips in the video of me kind of shooting with this loadout at the range, doing my thing, transition drills, kneeling, shooting, all that good stuff, moving and shooting. And again, haven't had any issues with hot spots or anything. And I kind of like the shorter sleeves just because, again, it gives me a little bit more airflow and it wasn't getting in the way of the holster. I had it a couple times with some longer sleeves when I went to kind of break my wrist down. I was catching the sleeve. It was really kind of weird, but I kind of like that it's a little bit shorter. But that's just me. Again, it is nice in the future if they have more versatile sizing. Okay, now as far as this compared to other combat tops and stuff that I've used. So again, we have the cheapo Amazon ones. Sizing was terrible, cut wasn't really good. And again, very, very restrictive. Yeah, what is it? It's also a 65-35 blend, but with these, again, the cut makes a big difference, and where you put certain materials also makes a big difference. You can kind of see here with this one, it didn't have any of that stretchy material in the back, and you were feeling a lot of that restriction, and it just had a weird placement with a lot of these pockets. It's like they kind of just made it and then never put it on and tested it or anything, so just feels a little weird. Now moving up from there, we have a Kermaz combat pants. So these, again, nice materials. This was a kind of a custom design, so the materials are going to be a little bit different, but it was a nice choice in material. The cut itself was good. As far as some of the other things, like the pockets felt a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter with this. And then also a little bit restriction, but it's kind of hard to get these designs. They do have like the stretching material in the back, but it's hard to get like these custom designs and have the right material that works all the time. So I'm not going to fault them so much. These are pretty, I mean, you can tell, pretty custom combat pants. So yeah, the movement in them was pretty solid, but again, being custom fitted, it actually had like a weirder cut. I noticed it was kind of restrictive in certain areas, especially when I was kind of trying to take a knee or get into the prone. But again, these are nice, but I did notice more freedom of movement with these. I didn't really talk about it, but you also have the stretching material around the knees as well, which, yeah, it's really nice having all of that stretch around the knee pad. It's definitely a game changer when you're getting into the prone or into the kneeling positions. Okay, moving up from there, we have the Cry G3s. So again, you got that stretching material in the back. You have the kind of stretchy material, maybe not as stretchy as these, around the knee pads, but the pockets are very, very big, pretty easy to get into. These don't have those zipper cargo pockets. Again, I haven't really noticed an issue with just having Velcro as far as things falling out, but I do like having zipper pockets, mostly when I'm in the gym, so I don't have like any of my stuff falling out. But yeah, Cry G3s. As far as comparing these, I haven't had as much use in these, but I haven't noticed any huge differences to the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I would definitely, you know, go to the higher price and get the Cry G3s. Again, you do have like kind of different sized pockets. With these, again, they're just always so kind of weird. I don't really use them too much. Now with these Crys, you do have the ability to adjust the knee pad ride. With these, you don't have that adjustment. With the cheapo Amazon ones, that was necessary. With the Crys, having like the right cuts, I never really had to adjust these. And with these, I don't really have to adjust it. When I get in the knee, it feels okay. Maybe if I could bring the pad up slightly higher, that would be cool. But for the most part, I didn't notice any issues. But with people with different kind of dimensions, they might have an issue where they might want that kind of adjustable ride height. But for me, it's not an issue whatsoever. Now the Crys also have the pockets on the bottom. Some people throw tourniquets in there, kind of like a unit SOP. For me, I've never liked putting anything in those weird pockets. So for me, not having those pockets down there, yeah, I really don't care. I don't really, again, you don't even notice that these pockets are there. So maybe having like that not there is nice. You know, a little bit less material, a little bit less thick. So you're not kind of noticing pockets there, or more material being there, or less airflow as well. But yeah, Cry G3s, really solid, kind of like the staple that a lot of people have sworn by for probably like 2 decades at this point. Yeah, those are solid, but again, kind of comparable comparing the prices. For $210, these are solid. And again, I'm kind of just talking more on the combat pants because that's kind of what I have right there. Combat top, there's only so much you can do with a combat top. If you mess up a combat top, then you messed it up pretty bad. With this, no issues whatsoever. So kind of comparing those, really not going to be something that I'm going to focus on so much for this video, kind of more on the pants, because that's where you feel most of the restriction or the issues, kind of like hot spots as well. Something real quick, the waistband inside of the Crys feels a little bit more like padded or like a little bit thicker, which is kind of nice to kind of have that surface area dispersion, especially when you're wearing a belt. Because if you just have a little bit less padding or a little bit, if it's kind of like more narrow, you might start feeling that belt a little bit more on the top or the bottom. Again, haven't noticed it, but that is kind of something that I've noticed. With the belt loops, the waistband itself also kind of covers the height on the Crys. Whereas with these, you can kind of see, it does also kind of cover that height, but you don't really have any of that extra, that padding there. So if you do have any weird kind of belt designs, you might have some hot spots there, kind of feeling that through the thinner material. But with my setup, I did not. Again, things to consider with the price comparison. You don't necessarily need to include certain things in the end product. It's just things that I've noticed as far as the difference. Now moving on to the Cry G4s, these are nice. So this is the flame retardant version. I say they're nice. They're also very, very expensive. So you do kind of still have a little bit of that stretchy material, not as much on these. You do have the adjustable kind of stretchy waistbands. You do kind of have that like padded inner waistband area there. These are really nice because it just like is very, very minimal kind of friction, super soft. But yeah, Cry G4s. Some people hate them. Some people kind of still swear by the G3s, but for me, I love these. Just so much mobility in these. Now we're really kind of talking about vastly different price points here, but yeah, Cry G4s, kind of like the standard when it comes to combat pants. These and the UF Pros, which I'll show after this, these are very nice pants. But again, kind of talking about the comparison with these are so comfortable. Like I could rock these all day, to the point where, especially when you start thinking about the price, it's like, I don't really know why I dished out that much money on those pants. For longevity, these have lasted a while. These are also kind of like what I use a lot when I'm doing like a lot of army things. So these have lasted a long time and they're durable. They kind of had a lot of piling issues. I think that's the right way to pronounce that. Kind of right away, but they have lasted a long time, pretty comfortable. But with these, I guess it kind of just, I need to test it a little bit more. But again, when you kind of have something that's this comfortable and again has this much kind of mobility and all the same kind of similar features, that's when you start really kind of wondering if it's worth getting anything more expensive for how you're using it. And then we have UF Pro, which is kind of like the gold standard when it comes to combat pants, as far as the amount of versatility, the amount of testing, absolute durability. UF Pro, these are some great pants. I will just go ahead and say that. I know I'm kind of reviewing these, but great pants. The price point absolutely reflects in that. But yeah, again, it really depends on how you're going to be using it. And again, just kind of comparing it, you know, if there's certain features on here, kind of like the built-in inner belt with the UF Pro, some of these stretchier materials like on the waistband, they're nice to haves, and you know, you kind of get like coddled with it, if that makes sense. But again, you kind of have to consider like, is it really worth it when you're talking about the price point and stuff? Because when you can get like the amount of comfort, again, all the same kind of pockets you'd need. With a lot of these, you have more pockets than you'll ever actually use, to be honest. It's really going to be on that fit, that comfort, that mobility. And again, just like the camouflage pattern or the color itself / sizing is going to be a consideration when it comes to a lot of these, and just availability, because sometimes like a lot of the Cries might not be available, and UF Pro, you might have some issues depending on where you are in getting those as well. So again, I've had a lot of things to compare it to, and I still love these pants. Just again, like the look of them, the feel of them is just fantastic. So being able to use some of the more higher end stuff and still being like very, very impressed with this just goes to show like the amount of, it just goes to show the amount of attention to detail that these guys have put into the development and of course the testing with this. And again, it's just, I keep trying to like test the limits doing like really goofy stuff like this every now and again, especially when I'm wearing kits, because it just feels like it's applying more pressure on the seams and stuff. And it's held up super well. It's always been comfortable. And I'm tempted to just kind of like go on a run with this and see how that feels, if I have like any weird hot spots or any itchy areas as well. But yeah, so far these have been fantastic. So that's pretty much it as far as the review. So we kind of talked about the company, we kind of talked about the talking points for the combat top and combat pants, and then kind of moved into more of the comparison with the other options out there as far as the combat pants specifically. So again, for the price, these are fantastic. So again, Norway is a country that has some pretty harsh terrain. So for this being tested in those sorts of environments, it's pretty clutch. You kind of understand that if it's going to survive some terrain like that, it's probably going to be pretty solid. I mean, here in like Washington, where it's not as extreme, I know it's going to hold up well, and the Ranger Green kind of just fits it pretty well as well. So that's kind of dope. But again, very cool company. They reached out, so they were very transparent with everything. Getting the product to me super quick. Again, these are in production, and it was awesome to kind of hear their passion talking about designing this, and kind of talking about the inspiration. Again, talking about this being the Telemark line, and you guys already know I'm a big fan of that unit. And then being able to receive it and actually see and feel the amount of quality and attention to detail, and again, that passion going into this is awesome to see. So I would 100% recommend these. Compared to some of the cheaper Amazon options, you don't want to waste your time with that. It might be cool for like a costume, but for doing anything functional, it's not going to be pleasant. And those can get pretty expensive as well. But for these, again, good price points. You're not spending as much as like Cry or UF Pro, and you're getting pretty much a lot of those features, some pretty awesome, unique features as well with the elbow pad and the knee pad pockets as well. I know a lot of my subscribers are from Germany and Finland and Estonia, and I know you guys could rock this color. Maybe not in the military, but for other activities, you could rock this color and it would work super well. And again, being tested in Norway, you know it's gonna hold up well in those environments. But even here in the US, you could use this for a lot. If you want like a longer term, like airsoft kind of combat top and pants, these are going to be more than sufficient for that. And of course, if you're doing kind of your actual loadouts with your, you know, if you're just training with your buddies, or if you do have a sort of kind of military loadouts as well, you can rock these, you know, if you can rock the Ranger Green, I guess. And of course, for those who are looking for a combat top and pants when they're going out training with their buddies, doing some firearm drills, these are a fantastic option, and they're going to treat you very well. And you can definitely beat them up without being afraid that you're going to be popping seams or just getting like chafed to death, or, you know, being broke and not having any money for anything else. So yeah, things to consider. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. If you have any questions on anything, let me know. I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. But again, Polar Bear Tactical, thank you for sending me this stuff. Again, full transparency, when companies reach out and send me stuff, I do like to be completely honest when I'm doing these reviews, and this is just a solid product. Again, which is encouraging to kind of see that passion and see that follow through with the product itself. But if you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. But that is it for this review. I'll see y'all in the next one.